Sports Daily Podcast. Look, there's a lot of opinions out there when it comes to Caitlin Clark about a whole vast amount of information. And look, the thing that you guys don't understand is the greats play better with better players. Have you never known somebody like that? That you say to yourself, because you grew up with them or whatever the case may be, oh, I can hang with them. Like, they're not that good. And then, no matter what level they play at, they continue to, like, literally tear it up. So I've said this from the very beginning, and it's, I guess, partly because I'm a professional basketball skills trainer. I've been coaching for 32 years, and I am a big fan of Caitlin Clark. But look, this is the reality of the situation. In my opinion, she's going to go down as the GOAT, one of the greatest in college. But she's going to win multiple WNBA championships. She's going to go down as the greatest player. So the thing you have to understand also is this. In the NBA, we had, yes, the old-time greats. We had the OGs. We had the Kareems, who some say should be in the conversation, but he's not. We've had the Will Chamberlains and the Bill Russells and the Pistol Pete Maraviches, and we've had a lot of people from the OGs. But in the modern era, we had MJ, we had Larry, we had, not in this order necessarily, we had Magic, we had AI, we had Kobe, we had LeBron, we had Steph. So those are the impact players. Those are the primetime players. Those are the ones that created a collaborative reckoning. Jordan the most, and then probably Steph. Now, Larry and Magic saved the league, but Jordan and Steph have transformed the league and how players play and have impacted multiple generations. The WNBA's never had that. Have they had great players? Of course. They've had the Sue Birds and the Maya Moores, and they have had so many different amazing players in the last 27 years. But it is literally unparalleled. And so not only is my prediction that she's going to go down as the GOAT, but she's going to not only win multiple championships, she's not going to take any time at all. Look, it's no disrespect to WNBA players or anything like that. I didn't think for a second, and I'm not just judging it based on one preseason game because she had 21 points tonight, you're not going to stop her. She was double-teamed and triple-teamed and face-guarded, and first of all, you don't understand how quick she is. She's faster than you think. She's 6 foot. She can pass like Magic. She can handle like Steph. She can shoot like Steph. She's got a mid-range game. She's got a three-point game that is unparalleled. Her coach has said she's not going to take the reins back at all. So for those of you that think that Caitlin Clark is going to struggle, for those players, and anyone said, well, there's more scouting, man, get out of here with that, man. She's not going to have any problems not only transitioning to the WNBA, she's not going to have any problems elevating herself or her team. And she's going to go down this year possibly as an MVP candidate. She's that freaking good, y'all. And she's going to, well, first of all, she's already selling out. They already have 36 out of the 40 games that she's involved in on television. Someone better pick up those other 4. If somebody doesn't pick up those other 4, they're idiots. Appreciate that, Barbecue Barnes. Like, Mark Cuban, like, somebody needs to pick up these other games. What up, Mo? If somebody doesn't pick up these other 4 games, they're literally an idiot. We're talking about Caitlin Clark, and what I've been talking about for months about people either hating or thinking they know the game. She's not going to struggle. She may have an off night, but that's because of her, not because of someone else. Look, there's good defenders. People are going to try and get in her face and press up defensively and try and, like, show that they're veterans. And, man, you ain't stopping her. You ain't stopping her. Doug Gottlieb talking about her shot going from the left to the right, and she's going to have trouble shooting on the right side of the floor. Man, shut up. Shut up. There are some exceptions to the rule when it comes to shooting. Will she tweak it over time? I mean, didn't LeBron change things over time, over 22 years, and that's why he's shooting better from 3 this year than Steph Curry? People work on stuff when they're a professional. But it's literally ridiculous to think that Caitlin Clark is going to struggle one iota in terms of the overall big picture transition to the WNBA. She might be the MVP this year as a rookie. She's faster than you think. She's got a mid-range game. She passes like magic. She can shoot and dribble like Steph. And she's in shape, and she's got a motor. She never gets tired. Well, she got a little tired last year, but that's because she was getting double and triple teamed. That's not going to happen this year. If she gets double and triple teamed this year as a rookie in the regular season, that will be unprecedented on the men's or women's side at the professional level. She's not going to struggle. And it's just laughable to me that people were like, yeah, well, she's going to take some time, you know. She's not like anybody else. You could say that about every other player. But when you have a transformational player that comes along, you would think that maybe you say, you know what, this might be the first time that a player transitioning from college to the pros might not struggle. Did you hear one person say that? But I'm not Doug Gottlieb. I'm not Colin Cowherd. I'm not Stephen A. Smith. I'm not J.J. Redick. I'm not the guys on All the Smoke. I'm not any of those guys. That's fine. That's why we only got 6 people in here. And they would have already had 100,000 people in here probably watching this live. When you have somebody that can move people to watch you who have never watched sports, who have never watched basketball, who have never watched men's basketball. Do you know how many people, in particular older white guys like me, come up to me when I'm wearing her jersey, which is often, or her shirts, or Angel Reese's stuff, or anything related, that they now watch her? Did you hear what Jim Boeheim said, the former coach of 40 some odd years at Syracuse? It had been 3 or 4 decades since he had ever got in a car to drive somewhere to watch anyone play, let alone a female. Like, it is literally laughable that people wouldn't at least have said, yes, it is true that in most cases, people struggle when they are transitioning to the NBA or the WNBA. But this might be the first time that a player doesn't struggle going to the WNBA. And you never heard that once, except right here. Because great players, great transformational, generational players that are creating a reckoning, Clarkonomics is a real thing. Caitlin's sanity is a real thing. And she's not going to struggle. She may have an off night shooting. She ain't going to struggle. She might be the MVP this year. And man, I hope it continues because we need eyeballs on women's sports, especially women's basketball. She's not only going to bring eyeballs to women's sports, it's going to carry over to the men's game because people are going to get hyped because then she's going to be in the all-star game for the men in the three-point shooting contest. And then there's going to be, it's just like when Billie Jean King played tennis against Bobby Riggs back in the day, or Serena overcoming barriers. But we've really never, ever seen anything like this ever on the women's side. There have been maybe more impactful women in the history of sport in terms of the fight and breaking glass ceilings and things of those nature. And I've had an array of amazing women on my Sports Daily podcast, like Cheryl Miller 4 times, Ray Pond, who used to work at Nike, over 40 WNBA and professional women's basketball players, the legends of the ball, the women who were a part of the original W. There are a lot of groundbreaking, historic women that have never had seats at the table. The players from the WNBA, from the jump in 1997 all the way until now, there's been a lot of great ones. But what Caitlin Clark is going to do is teach people about the history and the herstory of the WNBA, because no one's ever really learned the history like they have on the men's side. As Elizabeth Galloway McQuitter has always said, president of Legends of the Ball. We know our men's history, but we don't know our women's history. And she's going to raise that awareness. She's going to amplify the game. She's going to amplify women. She's going to amplify women of color. She's going to teach people about the herstory of the women's game. And like Sue Bird, who's now one of the co-owners of the Seattle Storm, who just posted today, if you didn't see it, about the reality of misogyny and sexism and racism and bigotry and all of those things were a huge part of all of this. There's no doubt about it. Tiger Woods transcended golf. Transcended golf. Barack Obama never had that impact as the president, even though he was the first African-American president. And so it's just an amazing time. And so, Sarugi, we're not comparing the men's and the women's game. They're two different games. There are aspects that we will say, wow, you know, she can handle the ball and shoot similar. So if you want to come in here and troll and project, because you're actually the one that needs help when you say stuff like that, you're the one that's been traumatized as a child, and now you're lashing out to try and bring people down with you. You're uneducated. You're probably literally ignorant about what this hat even means. And so I'll support Trump if he becomes president. I just wish he wouldn't move the goalposts. I've said this from the beginning. I hate both of them. To digress just for a split second, because I think I have a responsibility to leverage my platform. So, you're uneducated about Black Lives Matter if you think that this hat is simply about the organization. So I'll just leave it at that. If I was trying to support Trump, that Trump got in his own way. If Trump wasn't such a dick, he probably would have won the election. That's the reality. And he's just a horrendous person. Was the country better off? That's really what you have to ask yourself. Now, I have a very close friend of mine that has said that from a small business perspective, absolutely Trump was the better choice. So the problem is people get too emotional about certain things. People are ignorant. People really don't want to meet halfway. They have implicit bias. They don't want to acknowledge the aspects of what really is with both sides. And really, the reality is that number 45 and number 46 should be out of here. How we don't go younger like Canada and other countries is literally beyond me. I literally can't understand it. If you actually educate yourself, Biden's done a great job, but he's losing some ground because of what's going on overseas. But he's done tremendous amounts for climate, which nobody cares about. Unemployment is down. there's a lot of great things that he's done, whether or not you think he's running the country or not. But there's a lot of great things that he's done. You should actually go look at some of the neutral journalists who will explain to you the things that both presidents did that were good. And Trump pardoned a lot of people that should have never been in jail. There's a number of things that Trump did, but he's too loose of a cannon, and Joe's too asleep. So, look, man, it's been 4 years that unemployment's gone down. I mean, interest rates go up eventually. Unemployment goes up eventually. There's nothing you can do about it. So I'm not for people coming here illegally. So I believe that you should come here legally, but I think there should be a hard stop right now until we get our lives together. So we got too many things going on here, and the situation overseas is complicated. So I'm not gonna try and oversimplify it in a couple of sentences. But there's a lot of layers to what's going on there. Yeah, it's not an easy conversation. I just don't like moving the goalposts. I will support whoever's the president as long as they're doing a good job. The reality is we don't get affected and impacted on the day-to-day anyways from the federal level. It's more about the state and the local level. And people care about things that really don't impact them locally. And there should only be a couple of things that you care about, from a federal perspective. Obviously, big cases like Roe v. Wade, and people care about gas and I guess infrastructure to a degree. But anyways, that's for another time. So I appreciate you guys tapping in. If you're going to tap in, please be educated. There's nothing more sexy to me than somebody who's educated and brings receipts. Don't gaslight me. Don't come in here and troll if it's not going to be, in jest and it's not going to be a little bit fun. Educate yourself, listen and learn. I try and do that all the time. And, hey, man, Orlando's young. My question is, will Shaq and Penny, show up? Heidi, you want to elaborate? No, absolutely not. King Onion Ring. Absolutely not. There's some things that people don't really understand about that original case. That original case, even though I'm for it, was not actually how it didn't actually go the way people thought it went. Roe v. Wade. There was a little bit of influence back then. So the real problem is Hillary lost. Heidi, can you elaborate on that? The problem is Hillary lost, and Ruth Bader Ginsburg didn't retire as a Supreme Court justice when she should have. That's not what I said, King Onion. I said that we are more influenced by things at the state and local levels. I didn't say anything about any policies that should be mandated or should have been decided by the Supreme Court, like Roe v. Wade. That's not what I was saying. So, I would say I'm not far to the left. I'm probably more in the middle than people would think. But I believe in freedom of speech. I believe in freedom of choice, for sure. So, and I believe that people can vote on one issue. So if you're pro-life and Trump's your only choice, then you got to vote. You got to vote for Trump. If that's the most important thing, if that is your deal breaker, if that is your absolute 100% most important thing in your life, then you have to vote right. And if you're pro-choice and that's your number one thing, despite everything else, then you have to vote for Sleepy. So I'm just talking about more about conservative things. I am pro-life in some respects, but not before pro-choice. So there are some nuances to it, I think, with certain situations. So, and Saruji, you don't even understand what the hat means. So Please educate yourself. All right, the dogs are waiting. So we started this, and this is how it always goes on YouTube. You guys come in here, and you only want to talk about things that you want to talk about. You don't want to find some middle ground. That's why I asked Heidi to bring some receipts, and she didn't even answer. She bounced. So KJ in the house. So if you're watching this on the replay, let me know what you think. And the reality is that it's a little bit more complicated. I like to educate myself from people that are much smarter than me. Like there's a guy named Tizzy on TikTok and Instagram. There's Mr. Krim, if you want to go educate yourself. There's Levert the Bassman. There's J. William J. So if you have a chance to go follow those guys, they're absolutely amazing. Stella on TikTok. There are some phenomenal content creators that are masters. White George. I mean, there's a lot of people that I like to listen to that are incredible. Yeah, there's a lot of historical clarity. Saruji, Saruji, I'm going to challenge you to do something. I want you to go follow those guys that I just said, and I want you to follow them for a month, and I want you to consistently every day watch at least one of their videos. And then I want you to, because they say it takes 21 days to change a habit. So you clearly have some terrible habits. You're blaming other people. You're unwilling to meet halfway. You're clearly on one side, which is fine, but you are demeaning. You're not willing to listen. You don't want to learn. You're gaslighting. So you're doing a lot of things on here. And so I don't really want to engage in that low vibrational toxic energy where people have had probably traumatic things happen to them over their life, or the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. And as a result, they're trying to bring other people down with them. Don't want to get educated, have implicit bias, and I'm just not for it. You may end up back in the same place that you're at now, but all those things are actually true. So just bring receipts. I've watched Fox for 4 years. I watch Fox all the time. And you can see what's happened there. You can see what's happened there. But people like you and my neighbor refuse to acknowledge it. So, and I feel the same way about CNN. They're just as bad. So, you're barking down the wrong tree. Obama didn't do enough. I love the symbolism with him, but he didn't do enough. And the problem is a lot of this is timing. A lot of it is timing. So, but there was a lot of bad policies. Look, there's bad policies on both sides. There's very few that can get both sides of the aisle together. It is just a shit show right now. So, and I got a lot of learning to do still. And I'm always just trying to do a better job of being a better version of myself every day. So, I appreciate y'all. Thanks for tapping in. Please bring receipts. Please don't come in here and talk smack if you don't bring receipts, if you don't even know what you're talking about. And we just had a new city in Louisiana created by a rich white guy because they wanted to get away from black people. There are still racist laws in the books. There is still slavery in some of the states. So we have a long way to go when it comes to racism, misogyny, sexism, bigotry, anti-Semitism. And if you don't want to acknowledge that, that's fine. But I'm not going to live my life that way. Until next time, go Caitlin Clark, go Angel Reese, go Paige Buckets, go Alyssa Peely, go Colin Kaepernick, go Juju Watkins. And I love the WNBA 10 times more than the NBA because the NBA is garbage. I'm a professional basketball skills trainer. I can't stand the NBA. I was on the men's side for 15 years. I'm starting my 18th year on the women's side. And what's happening on the women's side is literally inspiring. It's a long time coming. And, man, I hope Jim Harbaugh with the Los Angeles Chargers gives Colin Kaepernick the chance that he deserves, along with Bruce Maxwell, who's also been whiteballed. by Major League Baseball because he also kneeled and was the first African American to kneel. So, Sarugi, I appreciate you tapping in. Hey, you stayed here a long time. We can agree to disagree. And maybe next time I come on here, which is not very often on YouTube Live. Usually I'm on TikTok, very rarely on Instagram. But I like to diversify and, like this. A lot of people couldn't handle this. Some people would have gone in a little bit differently. Some people would have handled it differently. The first guy who was here, I had to mute him because it crossed the line. So I don't want to send people to the goo if I don't have to. But Colin Kaepernick was white bald, and he deserves another chance, just like Mahmoud Abdul Rauf was white bald and never got an apology, and his career was ruined by the white men that ran and continue to run the NBA. And the same thing is true with the NFL. Colin Kaepernick got white bald. Bruce Maxwell got white bald. And this is not the first time, and it's not going to be the last. Until next time, much love. This is Hootie Hoo from the Sports Daily Podcast. Appreciate y'all tapping in. Until next time, much love. Peace.